All right, welcome to Frontline. Happy New Year. 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. We begin tonight in New York City, where Zoran Mamdani was inaugurated as mayor of the Big Apple. And if you didn't know better, you'd think you were like watching the crowning of some Soviet Union election. His speech full of platitudes, no substance. More on this later in the show with Rudy Giuliani, who's basically completely upset right now. Also, at least 40 people are dead after a fire broke out at a bar during a New Year's celebration in Switzerland, actually. Now, witnesses reportedly say the fire ignited when a male bartender was carrying a candle-holding female bartender on his shoulders, and the candle then set fire to the wooden ceiling, and the flames just completely broke out. And Iranian forces opened fire on protesters, reported leaving several demonstrators dead. Today, marking the 5th day of protesters over the nation's soaring inflation and mass unemployment. But first, at least the people running the teleprompter at CBS understand why America doesn't trust the legacy media anymore. Let's do this. Look, one of the things we pride ourselves on this team is getting it right, because even when you're wrong, like one time, you violate your viewers' trust forever. I mean, that's gone. And I quite frankly would rather be late to a story, but get it right over being first and wrong. And again, in 2025, the legacy media had a lot of trouble defining itself. President Trump was able to pretty much do it for them by winning a bunch of lawsuits that they had to pay out millions of dollars for that showed all their biases. Then maybe with that in mind, CBS News, like under new management, I guess, apparently had this like revelation.
A lot has changed since the first person sat in this chair. But for me, the biggest difference is people do not trust us like they used to. And it's not just us. It's all of legacy media.
I couldn't imagine why, because you guys have been literally wrong about darn near everything. You told us not to believe our own eyes, like COVID lab leaks and masking and vaccines and social distancing with like no scientific data at all to back it up. You people ran air cover for the Hunter Biden laptop. You platformed the people perpetuating that lie. You have perpetually, nearly every single time, you have jumped headfirst into the shallow end of stupid on climate change. And it turned out none of it came true. You told us that, no, the government's not censoring people. Turned out the FBI was essentially actually dictating on who social media companies should censor and stop from reaching other people. I mean, don't even get me started on the 2020 election that we were told was the most secure ever, but we now know that 315,000 votes in Georgia were unsigned by poll workers as required by law. By the way, Trump lost that state by only 11,000 votes. J6, Ukraine, Russia collusion, men and women's sports. And yesterday, the only coverage on the $9 billion Somali fraud scandal from CBS says, leaves Somali community on edge. You are making the community responsible for the fraud, the victim. I mean, really? You still want to go there, guys? The legacy media, is it they're either dead wrong or on almost everything, actually, or they're on the wrong side of like 80-20 issues. And they never apologize for it. They just move on. And then they scold us for having a different opinion on the next thing that they are wrong about. Like, why would we trust the legacy media? And in a rare moment of self-reflection, this CBS anchor actually articulated exactly why this happened. I don't know if he actually understands it, but he read it off the teleprompter.
The point is, on too many stories, the press has missed the story because we've taken into account the perspective of advocates and not the average American. Or we put too much weight in the analysis of academics or elites and not enough on you.
I mean, it's actually pretty comical. Here, perfect example. They're being forced to cover this now, okay? That, quote, the economists got 2025 all wrong. The GDP growth for Q3 came in at a red-hot 4.3, following 3.5 for the second quarter. Some 90% of professional economists got it wrong. Remember, all the experts said inflation would explode. Here from CBS, that exact same network, quote, 16 of the world's most notable economists, all Nobel Prize winners, all warning that former President Donald Trump could stoke inflation if he wins the presidency in November and moves forward with his economic plans. And what did we end the year at? Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah, 2.7%. It was expected to be 3, and the year-over-year number was 1.2 if it holds that pace. I mean, like, great job, academia and economists. Here again from CBS, they said the tariffs would destroy the economy. It'll stall growth. Then they were forced to run other headlines, also from CBS, like this. What did we end with? 4.3? Almost 40% higher than they said it would? Oh, that was pretty good GDP. I mean, we can do this all day with the stock market here. Then MSNBC, MS Now. Trump haunted by his pre-election boast about the stock market by Steve Bannon, not Bannon, Bannon, okay? He said, quote, before the election, the Republicans pretended he was solely responsible for Wall Street's upswing. Now that the markets are struggling, that's a problem. Well, Steve, how about now? 2025 ended with the S&P up over 16%, NASDAQ up over 20%, Dow up 13%, silver hit 175% gains, gold hit $4,500 an ounce. And all these predictions and articles, they're all written by the so-called experts that all the legacy networks had on because they would say bad stuff about Trump. And they were all wrong. And instead of saying like, oh, hey guys, look, we're really sorry we got it wrong. Like, we're going to do better. They didn't stop having these people on. They just doubled down. And I kind of got to hand it to this guy or whoever's running or writing his teleprompter. It's like the first glimmer I've seen from them with like an aha moment. I think actually they will probably continue to have most of these people on who were wrong, and they will continue to be wrong because they hate Trump. But I mean, we'll see. I don't know. My predictions are usually right. But look, folks, I work in this industry, clearly, because here I am. So let me tell you how this goes. Not on this show, but everywhere else. In addition to newsmakers, you'll notice that we generally have like the same small family of guests that actually know what they're talking about, that have worked in the industries we're asking them about. But you want to know how most liberal networks like CBS book their guests? You are never going to look at the same media again. Okay, the people go out and they write like random people. They'll write an article with their opinion and pitch them to publications. Publications need content, so most of them are just happy to publish something, especially if someone in academia who has like a PhD or claims to be an economist or has some other institutional jargon next to their name. But where do those titles come from? They come from places like Harvard and academia that have almost a monolith of liberal thought, no diversity of political opinions, taught by people that have, for the most part, have never worked in the field that they teach about. The people that taught them don't know how the real world works. So why would the students? But they're coming out with their PhD anyway. And then they go and they think they know what they're talking about, and they write about their opinions, mostly posted as op-eds, meaning opinion, but people take them as fact. Then they take their published piece and then they pitch it to some probably 22 to 25-year-old person, which is a booker on a show like MSNBC or CNN, whose only mechanism of vetting that person is to look at their LinkedIn profile, which that person wrote, that notes like PhD or even worse, political strategist, captioned underneath their bio. They get booked on TV, they spew their stupid opinion, and then other young up-and-coming journalists from the same wrong, far-left institutions write about what that person said on TV, and the cycle perpetuates itself. It's literally the blind leading the blind. It's like this incestuous cycle of people who have largely never actually accomplished anything or even worked in the economy that they claim to be experts in. And you can do this in any sector. What's even funnier is look at Jim Cramer. The inverse Jim Cramer ETF fund is up like 40% on the year. What's even funnier is if you do enough segments on these networks talking about the economy, whether you're right or wrong, they might even hire you and bestow the title. They might give you economist. Watch, check this out. Put up a chyron that labels me economist. Look, see that down there? Carl Higbie, economist, maybe. Let's do another one. Here we go. Do this. King of the world. Maybe. Because the chyron says it. It must be true, right? That was done because I asked them to. No different from a guest pitching themselves over at CBS. That is why the legacy media is trash. That's how they got everything wrong, because they prioritized, for years, by the way, prioritized ideology over actual qualifications. But you know what's worse? We elect people who are even less qualified sometimes. Often, The people that these networks put on. They gain the notoriety to then be elected, and then they make the laws. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why the Inflation Reduction Act made inflation double. The Affordable Health Care Act is not even remotely affordable. Why we have Jasmine Crockett and AOC as the face of the Democrat Party. Not because they know anything, they clearly don't, but just because they create buzz that draws eyeballs, that brings in more revenue from advertisers without peddling any useful information. And information they do peddle is usually wrong. All the while, the anchors who keep getting it wrong get paid millions of dollars, way more than I get paid. The liberal congressmen who also get it wrong, they get like book deals from their notoriety being on those networks, and they're worth millions of dollars, which elevate them to higher offices and more influence, who then support other idiots that get into more offices that then get outsmarted by Somali immigrants with an IQ of 67 for $9 billion in fraud schemes. And while this network, especially this show, has actual people on and actually do our research to make sure that we're getting the story right, all those people get rich off of being wrong. They call us crazy. But our side is right, and we have the receipts for it. So sleep easy, Patriots. These grifters losing their grip. Jason Meister is a Trump advisory board member and founder of Defend New York City. Jason, they don't have anything to go on anymore.
Nothing. It's incredible to witness. We had Zohran Mamdani sworn into office in New York City, and he's a byproduct of the modern day Democratic Party, a party that has been built on looting and plundering the American people. Look at Minnesota, on money laundering, fraud, waste, abuse, and corruption. A party that hates this country, this Constitution, the rule of law, whites, capitalism, Christians,
but
Jews.
They're all married to white people, like AOC,
that's right.
Kamala Harris, Ilhan Omar. They're all married to white people. Well, she was married to her brother, but
it's incredible. And if anyone's paying attention to see what's happening to this party, this is not the Democratic Party of your grandfather or my grandfather. This is a party now run by the radicals, the Ilhan Omars, the AOCs, the Mamdani wing of the Democratic Party. There's been a civil war within the Democratic Party, and those that have come on top are the radicals, the communists, the Marxists, the Islamists, the fascists.
Yeah, well, and that's the problem is these networks have been platforming. I mean, we went through the receipts. Like, Trump got it right, they got it wrong, and yet these people still exist.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It really is. Trump's also, he's ushered in a ton of things in his agenda. Congress hasn't really been helping him out that much, which I've been Congress reportedly the fewest votes that have been signed into law, like the House has. The Senate has been equally ineffective, but according to Majority Leader John Thune, listen to this.
It was a historic number of weeks in session, days in session, hours in session, and record number of votes cast. In fact, we went back 8 decades, back to the 1940s, and there's only been one other time in 1976 where a Senate cast more votes than we did this year. So it's been busy, in many ways sort of exhausting, I think, for a lot of folks, but I would also say productive.
But Jason, this shows the divide between the real world and Washington, because Thune constitutes action, doing stuff. All he did was this, and then we're voting this, and then we'll vote on this. But there was no achievement there. They didn't actually accomplish anything. Nothing got to Trump's desk. Sure, they confirmed some judges, but more votes than ever and less laws than ever.
Less laws. The American people are so fed up with Washington, D.C. Yep. That's why Trump, over the last decade, was successful, because he wasn't a politician. He got things done. He came from the private sector. He brought business acumen to something that lacks any kind of acumen whatsoever. And the American people are just so fed up with Washington. They're so fed up with D.C. They're so fed up with the Democrats, the Republicans. Yeah. That's why MAGA is excelling in this environment.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's no shock. People are just like you said, pissed off at everything. Jack Smith, this is another blunder of the left. Okay, he had a hearing yesterday, and the prosecutor who tried to take down Trump, obviously had nothing but. One of the big things, he basically had zero concern for Trump's First Amendment rights. Roll this.
The president's statements that he believed the election was rife with fraud, those certainly are statements that are protected by the First Amendment, correct?
Absolutely not, if they are made to target a lawful government function and they're made with knowing falsity. No, they're not.
Right. So they went on to say, like, well, here's like 15 incidences of other politicians challenging their elections publicly. Why didn't you charge them?
Yeah. This country is faced with an existential threat. If we don't lock up people like Jack Smith and these government criminals that have used lawfare against Donald Trump and all the Republicans in Congress and the Senate, we are done. We are a third world country. This is the most important thing. If Pam Bondi and Kash Patel don't do their job and execute the rule of law, and the Department of Justice doesn't pick up their bootstraps and figure out what to do with these people and do it right now, 2026 is the year that we need to see some accountability in this government and this country. If we don't see that, Donald Trump's legacy is on the line.
Well, that's what I said. I was like, look, all the DOJ has to do is like arrest like a couple high-profile people. And like, look, the left did this for years against Republicans. Like,
right.
It's not that hard to do.
Yeah, they did it, but they did it lawfare-wise. They
Exactly.
didn't actually they didn't have crimes that were committed. We actually have crimes, well-documented crimes that statute of limitations are running out on.
Right.
And we need to act now.
Yeah, well, you know, the other thing, too, is Smith addressed Cassidy Hutchinson in the J6 committee star witness, okay? This is the woman who said, like, oh, yeah, Trump reached up and grabbed the steering wheel, which you can't do in the Beast because there's no room for him to do that. Just watch this.
My recollection with Ms. Hutchinson that at least one of the issues was a number of the things that she gave evidence on were secondhand hearsay, were things that she'd heard from other people. And as a result, that testimony may or may not be admissible, and it certainly wouldn't be as powerful as firsthand testimony.
I mean, may or may not. It definitely is not.
It definitely is not. Look, we live in the age of narratives where propagandized storylines, not facts, matter. You see it everywhere. The COVID cover-up, Jussie Smollett's the victim of a hate crime. I mean, it's endless. It goes on, and that's the problem.
Yeah, no, it really is. Jason Meister, appreciate you coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right, coming up, a shocking cover-up exposed. New questions swirl about missteps in the Palisade firefight. Los Angeles Fire Department bosses watering down their own report. Why? We're going to break it down just a bit. But first, the Big Apple's nightmare begins. Democrat socialist Zohran Mamdani is officially the mayor of New York City. Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani is going to sound off next.
Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country.
Before Charlie Kirk died, he issued a stark warning of terrifying dangers ahead in a new book, Pagan Threat, authored by Pastor Lucas Miles. Charlie said Pagan Threat could save America and that you must read it. Get Pagan Threat free with Newsmax's special offer. Plus, get Dick Morse's new book, The Real Charlie Kirk. 2 great books with our free offer today.
During the Omaha Steaks end-of-season event, save 50% site-wide and get our Butcher's Classic assortment with USDA certified tender filet mignon and top sirloin fillets for just $99.99. Plus, get 8 burgers free. Visit omahasteaks.com/TV today.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, Matt.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
What if getting older didn't mean living with joint discomfort, brain fog, or low energy? Qualia Senolytic is the only all-in-one clinically tested formula with 9 ingredients designed to help your body clear aging cells. Taken just 2 days a month, this regimen works at the cellular level to rejuvenate energy and support longevity, helping you stay active and energized. With Qualia Senolytic, life truly gets better with age. Start today at qualialife.com/TV.
Set sail toward fast asthma relief with Breathora.
$300 for a refill?
Don't pay that. Use Single Care. Look up your prescription, show the coupon to the pharmacist, and save.
See why more people are saving with Single Care.
I,
Zohran Mamdani,
do solemnly swear
that
I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Charter of the City of New York.
and the Charter of the City of New York.
Let's see how much he sticks to that one. New York City, you get what you vote for. I mean, when the clock struck midnight to bring in the new year, self-described Democrat socialist Zoran Mamdani was officially sworn in by Letitia James, nonetheless, as the 112th mayor of New York City, making him the first Muslim leader of America's biggest city. And he took the oath of office on a centuries-old Quran. Yes, a Quran, which is the central holy book of Islam. No elected official in the United States should ever be allowed to be sworn in on the Quran. You want to know why? You want to know why I don't like this after all my time over fighting in Iraq? Verse 551 of the Quran says, "Oh, you who have believed, do not take the Jews and Christians as allies. They are in fact allies of one another, and whoever is an ally to them among you, then indeed he is one of them. Indeed, Allah guides not the wrongdoing people." Sweet unity and stuff for the city that said they'd never forget after 9/11. Sure forgot. Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, sir, this has got to break your heart.
You said it just right. It's probably, I don't think I can describe it, so I'm not going to try. I do not understand it, but let's stick with the Quran. You're so right. And very few people know that because we've been euphemistic about the Quran. We've been almost silly in our disregarding how dangerous it is. Even our former President Bush said Islam is a religion of peace.
No.
Islam was invented as a religion of war by a warrior, Muhammad, who was a mass killer, a pedophile, a man who viciously hated Jewish people in the same way that Mamdani does. And also, the quote that you mentioned, 51, I probably have 101 similar to it, 101 quotes in the Quran itself, imploring them to violence, such as, but if they turn renegades, you know, the Jews or Christians, after you converted them, if they go back to being Christians, seize them and slay them wherever ye find them. And in any case, take no friends or helpers into your ranks.
Wow. Seems super
and fight
unity.
with them until, this is number, Surah 8, verse 39. And fight with them until there is no more disorder or unbelief. And all are Muslims, and the religion is all for Allah. In other words, fight with them until you eliminate them. This is the book that he swore on. What I'm showing you right here is the original Holy Quran. This book is a reorganization of the Quran in chronological order. The Quran is written by the largest, longest verse first. So it's completely chaotic.
Right.
You get the Muhammad, who was a fairly good guy at the beginning, trying to convert people, trying to teach them that this is just a completion of Christianity and Judaism. And when the Jews, the Arabs, and the Christians threw him out because they thought he was seized by the devil because he was an epileptic, and he would have fits on the floor, and he would say strange things like, Gabriel took me up to meet Jesus, and Jesus is not so hot, Abraham is more important. That would kind of get the Christians angry.
Yeah.
Then he took Moses, and he put Moses in a much lower rank, and then he's gonna be number one. But Jesus is number 20, and Moses is number 30, and he's number one.
Mr. Mayor,
so they threw him out.
Yeah,
and he went to war.
Well, I mean, look, you and I can go on all day about how we think this is the absolute wrong direction for America or New York or whatever. But he also shouted out the South African Charter, not the Constitution, and proudly standing by his socialist background. Watch this.
I was elected as a democratic socialist, and I will govern as a democratic socialist.
Oh, great. I mean, let's see how this goes.
What about as an American? I mean, I was elected as a Republican, and I think what I said in my inauguration is I'm going to govern for all the people, because now there are no Republicans, no Democrats, no liberals, no conservatives. Right. Every one of you is a New Yorker, and
especially
I got to
on 9/11.
That's why I got to fight for all of you. I didn't go pick out the Republicans and just help them. Finally, that scene that we saw down in the bowels of the subway looked like something out of the horror part of Superman. Yeah. I mean, what a horrible city. Look at that. That looks like the lower region empire is going to take over.
Ghostbusters or something. But
what a picture!
Yeah, I mean, this to me is like one of those things. Like I'm very worried for New York, and I'm sure you are too.
You should be. It's not. I mean, we don't have much time when we're just talking big themes.
Yeah.
On every small theme, it's worse. There's no hope until he's gone.
Yeah.
And he made it clear he's not going to go to the middle.
Yeah. No.
I mean, how many people have won from the right or the left, and they make some attempt?
Yeah.
I'm going to try to go to the middle. I'm going to try to reach out. I'm going to try to. He basically tell you, go to hell. I'm a Democrat socialist.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but I also love Islamic terrorists and love Muhammad,
Well, you
who was a
appointed the
mass
guy who
murderer,
defended
a
him.
pedophile.
We got to leave it there, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry for you, sir. I'm sorry for all of us.
I'm sorry for all of us. The only thing we can do is keep on top of him.
Yeah, we'll never let him get away with it. We'll be covering it.
You're
all.
right.
Coming
We're
up,
gonna fight him right down to the wire.
Yes, sir. Coming up, Europe is fast-tracking their push for a digital euro, but could this be the blueprint for government control over your spending over there? All that and more in our Culture Clash coming up.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.
From the beginning, America has depended on the courage and resilience of those who serve in our armed forces. For 250 years, they've been there for us without fail, putting their lives on the line, defending our freedom, helping us become the nation we are today. At Wounded Warrior Project, our mission honors the past by building a better future for post-9/11 veterans, service members, and their families. Our life-changing programs and services help warriors improve their mental and physical health, access the VA benefits they've earned, and connect with their communities, their purpose, and each other. Warriors have given us their best. Join us in supporting them through the next 250 years of strength, resilience, and recovery. Visit woundedwarriorproject.org/USA250.
This is a story about the one. The one who looks to Grainger to make sparks fly. Getting it done right is a craft. It takes experience, the right material, and the right partner like Grainger with a wide range of professional-grade products. For the one, working hard means others can play even harder. Call, click Grainger.com, or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
We're down here in Wimberley, Texas, to build a smart home for Dustin Weber.
We want to welcome the Weber family to Wimberley.
Yesterday was just amazing.
The thought that has been put into these smart homes, they've thought of everything that will make his life better.
This home allows me the freedom to experience my children, taking them to bed. This home allows me the freedom to not slip and fall in the bathroom. It is a life-changing experience.
Total Beats, America's best-selling Beats brand, is available at Walmart. Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews contain a key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. Take control of your health. Head to Walmart and get Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews today.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online and save $45. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS. That's urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS.
You guys know I really don't care that much about Europe, but I do because the left uses it as a blueprint for what they want to do here, and the digital euro is coming for your freedom. Europe is launching a digital euro. It's actually a lot worse than you think. So what is it? It's not crypto, it's not cash. It's government money just in code. Think of it as, instead of you holding your money directly in a bank account, you hold it directly in the central bank on a digital device. To you, it looks like regular money in an account, but under the hood, it's programmable, it's traceable, and controllable by the government. I've been warning you about this forever. They're already putting people in jail over there for like speech violations. How long before they turn around and they just turn off your ability to purchase certain items they don't want you to? They say, oh, your cash is still going to be good and all this stuff while this is rolling out, until they decide it's not. This is what happens when you give up your guns. Hard pass. President of American Principles Project, Terry Schilling, and columnist for the Daily Signal, Jarrett Stepman. All right, Terry, I guarantee you they're going to start turning people off for their carbon footprint.
Carl, is this Brussels or is this Beijing? Right? This is the reality, is that Brussels and the European Union, almost every nation in the European Union, has been going to war with their own people. Right? They really hate their own people. They want to control them. It's partly why America had its own revolution, 250 years ago, by the way. Look, it's an absolute disaster. This is not about the economy or growth or giving people more, freedom and leverage. This is about the government controlling people and being able to push their thumb even harder. It's amazing, though, because Europe is pretty locked down and it's pretty tyrannical. This is soft tyranny, and we need to be very, very cognizant of it.
Yeah, well, Jared, speaking of the EU, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage, friend of this show, gave a New Year's Eve message to the nation, or his nation, saying, this year is critical to the populist movement. Roll this.
We may well be the last chance this country has to actually restore some proper values. Those of family, community, country, the ones upon which I based this party when I founded it in the very beginning. But we cannot do this without you. And you will not get the change you want without us.
Jared, why do people vote? Let's look here in New York. Why do people vote against their own interest?
Yeah, we kind of thought with, them going independent essentially of the EU that things would turn around there. Unfortunately, it's been like that for a while. And the UK has become more fanatical in the last few years than even we were in the depths of the Great Awakening. They were actually going a very different direction in the United States. I think Farage is right. I think this really is kind of the last moment that they have to remain an independent country. They have a political two-party system, unfortunately, that right now neither party is really serving the people there. They brought in unlimited number of immigrants and those who've come in who've done a lot of damage to the country, and there's no abating it. And I do think this is sort of the last stop before things just become quite hopeless, frankly, in the UK as they are throughout Europe.
Yeah, London Stan. All right, so Terry, the other thing, MS Now, formerly MSNBC, this contributor ridiculously says that there's no scientific evidence that there's a genetic difference between races. Watch this take apart.
There's no scientific evidence to prove that a black woman and a white woman are genetically different, right? This is like...
What are you talking about?
This is according,
yeah.
No.
Literally, there are genes that code for their skin color. There are genes that...
Again, this is like government data. This is EMI, right? This is the National Institute of Health. This is the American Medical Association. Like, there is no scientific evidence to prove that.
And that's a big
races,
problem, right? Because there's no scientific
and that's why I
asked. Like IQ differences. Black people are genetically different from other populations.
It's interesting because, you could have a bird that has one feather different on their back, and it's an entirely different species.
No, Carl, that's exactly right. So I do want to point out Paula Ramos is a Nepo baby, right? She's Jorge Ramos's from Univision's daughter, and we shouldn't be surprised that this is the type of quality you get when you're a Nepo baby. But this is all a distraction, right? This couple, I've met them before at the NATOCon. They just want to help Americans have more children, have more families, right? But when you do that, the left calls you a racist. That's what they do. When Somalians are stealing billions of dollars in taxpayer funds from poor people that need daycare, they say you're racist if you call it out. They say you're racist if you're an American family proponent.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I got to get to this story, Jarrett. This story out of Michigan could redefine the constitutionality of property taxes, the Pung versus Isabella County case. And I only got about 30 seconds for you here. This Supreme Court lawsuit, basically, he had a $2,200 debt on property taxes, and they took his entire house over it.
Yeah, it's absolutely outrageous. Talking about the Somali fraud issue, how outrageous is it that they're trying to take a house from this man who had a small tax bill, and yet billions are being pilfered from state budgets without any tracing, without any tracking, without any attempts by the government to stop it. It's absolutely outrageous. Obviously, hopefully the Supreme Court decides correctly in this case, but I think it's outrageous that this would happen to begin with in the United States. We're about defending property rights. That's not it.
Yeah, and look, if I was down on my luck so hard that I was out on my property taxes, that place would be like the Alamo if they came for my stuff. Terry, Jarrett, we appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, President Trump calls out fraud in California, an issue that runs deep in the Golden State. We're going to talk to a man who plans to put an end to it. Details next.
The affection in which my husband was held by all of you has sustained me.
She was the wife of President John F. Kennedy. She captivated the world with her grace and elegance, even in the darkest moments. Watch Jackie O, A Remarkable Life.
Poverty is unimaginable. There are people who are struggling.
This is where she washes the dishes.
If you're ever going to allow your Christian faith to rise and to do something for God's chosen people, now is the time.
This is the home of Galina. She's 96 years old.
This is what she had to eat for today.
She has one pot with water and wheat.
My father was killed by the Nazis, and I was an orphan. I didn't know about God. But now, in the cold, hungry nights, I pray for food to the God I've never known. There are good people that love you.
You'll see the tears. Scripture says joy can come in the morning, and you can be the reason.
Right now in Ukraine, elderly Jews are trapped in unbearable poverty. If you will bless these hurting children of Israel, you will receive God's blessing in return. Your urgent gift today of $25 will help rush a survival food box filled with life-saving essentials. Call, scan, or go online now.
I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, I don't know how much longer she could have waited for us to come.
I can't even grow my food anymore. What will happen to me? I'm doomed to starve.
Tens of thousands of elderly Holocaust survivors in the former Soviet Union are living in extreme poverty, hungry, and forgotten. But through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, we can bring them hope.
It's my favorite food. May you be blessed.
You say to them, we see you and we're here to help.
Please don't delay. Call, scan, or go online now.
What if getting older didn't mean living with joint discomfort, brain fog, or low energy? Qualia Senolytic is the only all-in-one clinically tested formula with 9 ingredients designed to help your body clear aging cells. Taken just 2 days a month, this regimen works at the cellular level to rejuvenate energy and support longevity, helping you stay active and energized. With Qualia Senolytic, life truly gets better with age. Start today at qualialife.com/BOGO.
Look, great blue heron. You know, when I go, I'd like to leave some money to the local bird conservancy.
Doesn't count. What you need is a will, something you can sign and make official. Start your will at trustandwill.com now and make it count.
Trust and Will. Introducing X-Back from Copperfit, America's #1 back support brand. Our groundbreaking technology designed for compression support of your lower back and core like you've never experienced before. The X-Back evenly distributes the support across a broader surface area of your back for relief of lower back aches and pains. An orthopedic design alloy support panel and 4 built-in flexible stabilizers to help improve alignment and promote better posture. Available at getxback.com. Copperfit, feel the difference.
Because we want to take back our country. Can you imagine? They stole $18 billion. That's just what we're learning about. That's peanuts. In California is worse. Illinois is worse. And sadly, New York is worse. A lot of other places. So we're going to get to the bottom of all of it. It was a giant scam.
And he also had Vanilla Ice playing Ice Ice Baby at Mar-a-Lago last night, where he was addressing the fraud plaguing Minnesota, but alleging that the fraud is even worse in the leftist bastions of Illinois, New York, and California. One of the men looking to crush the left's stranglehold on California and eradicate the state's fraud, Steve Hilton, Republican, California gubernatorial candidate. All right, Steve, there's so much money being lit on fire in that state.
Yeah, I mean, it's just endless. We just had a state auditor's report that added up $76 billion, $76 billion. But that was just from 8 or 9 different areas of spending. It didn't include the $13 billion they'll be spending next year, Gavin Newsom, on free healthcare for illegal immigrants that the Democrats nationally denied was even possible. He's bragging about doing it here. It doesn't include another $55 billion that they lost over the course of the pandemic, the employment department, on and on. And that's before you even get into the basic spending that's gone up so massively on the welfare state, because we have the highest unemployment rate in the country and the highest poverty rate in the country because of their insane policies. That's why we've got to kick these people out. We've had 16 years of one-party rule. It's a total disaster.
Well, yeah, I mean, all the places have all these, like, Democrat bastions all have single-party rule, and everything's a dumpster fire. And especially, like, let's go to, like, the Palisades fire, okay? That crushed that area of California, killed 12 people, burning, like, hundreds of acres, I mean 2,300 acres, and destroyed nearly 7,000 structures. And the LA Fire Department Battalion Chief Ken Cook, who wrote the after actions report on the fires, declined to endorse the final version, calling the edited version highly unprofessional and inconsistent with our established standards. He said the final version made complete modifications and deleted a bunch of stuff. There were conclusions that were presented by professionals.
It's a total cover-up. It's nearly a year now. Next week, it'll be the 1-year anniversary. And even now, nothing's been done to address the failings that led to this in the first place, the failings of the response, the total disaster, the empty reservoir and the fire hydrants with no water and the 1,000 firefighters who were let go, even though everyone knew it was a high-risk day, on and on. And then you look at the fact that the Palisades fire was totally avoidable because actually it was the rekindling of a fire that was there a week before, and they could and should have put it out, but they didn't. And instead of dealing with any of this, Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom and all the rest of them, they're just covering it up.
Yeah, I wonder if anybody's gone over and like tested a fire hydrant to see if it actually works. It'd be interesting to me. I want to talk about unions in that state because there's a lot of stuff going on there. Gavin Newsom's comms director, not happy that Democrats like Ro Khanna are out there calling out the billions of dollars in fraud, okay? I mean, like, he's another Democrat. So Izzy Garden writing, interesting to see a Dem repeat the MAGA made up $72 billion number. That, quote, fraud, he says, supposedly includes the $17 billion spent on the high-speed rail, which has created 16,000 union jobs and built 50 completed projects. Calling union work fraud is certainly a choice. And I'm thinking, like, Steve, just because jobs were created doesn't mean anything that, like, you can't, like, you can't drive a train down that track. So like 50 projects, maybe 50 parts of the project were completed, but nothing's been completed.
It's the most unbelievable thing I've ever heard. Carl, I drive up and down the Central Valley where this bullet train is supposed to go. Those completed projects, they're literally bridges to nowhere. And just, there's no track. Never mind, they haven't completed the track. There's no track been laid. This thing was supposed to be open 5 years ago for like a third of the cost that they're now saying will get it open 10 years from now. I mean, it's the biggest fiasco in the history of the country. And Gavin Newsom wants to run for president based on his ability to repeat that across America. No, thank you.
But you've got, like, Steve, you got to when you go talk to someone, be like, yeah, try the bullet train. What do they say? They're like, well, that was money well spent.
It's incredible. It's so offensive, right? Working people in California, that's what I'm fighting for in this race. They can't afford the basics, right? We have the highest rent, and on top of that, the highest taxes, highest gas prices, everything, the most expensive. They're taking our money and basically flushing it down the toilet. And then they brag about union jobs, kind of made up government jobs, while we have the worst business climate in the country. So they've hardly created any private sector jobs at all since the end of the pandemic, when you look at the net figures. It's a complete failure on every front, Gavin Newsom's California.
I don't know if there's enough smart people left in that state, though. I think all the smart ones left.
I think we're going to do it. People have had enough. I think this is the year
Steve,
to take back California.
I hope so, and I'm here for you, brother.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Happy New Year.
You too. Coming up, leave it to the left to get so worked up over being exposed for this Minnesota daycare fraud that now Nick Shirley is getting death threats. Those deets next.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, Bat.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
Ring in the new year with a kitchen designed to wow. It's the perfect time to explore our quality kitchen cabinet collections to find the well-crafted style you want. Because for a limited time only, you can get the kitchen of your dreams with 0% APR for 48 months. We'll even help you bring your vision to life with a free 3D design consultation. Hurry, offer ends soon. Only at Cabinets to Go. Designed to wow.
A better heart health supplement. That's what we all want. That's why for 8 years now, I've relied on this heart powder. It's Super Beats, and I swear by it.
Super Beats is the original #1 selling beet brand for healthy blood pressure support. The only cardiologist-recommended beet brand that's also trusted by over 40 national championship-winning pro and college sports teams for cardio-powered energy.
For cardio results you can feel, the only brand I trust is Super Beats.
Find out how to get a free month with your first order at livehuman.com.
Muscle cramps were keeping me up at night, so then I tried Slowmag, the magnesium plus calcium supplement that helps relax tense muscles so I can rest comfortably. And Slowmag tablets have a slow-release formula that's gentle on my stomach. That's why I use Slowmag.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
Oh, no. Is this the episode with the breakup?
Reba, we can't agree on the house.
Y'all need Realtor.com. With over 500,000 new listings every month, you could find the one today. This could be it. Better put a key ring on it. Realtor.com.
Look, we talked about this yesterday. The left cannot stand an independent journalist, or as they say, random YouTuber. Broke this story of the Minnesota, the daycare fraud and all these other schemes that are going on there. But now they're taking it to a whole new level. The party of civility, to the point where Nick Shirley is literally getting death threats.
They're saying, oh, like, kirked. You're going to be kirked.
You're going to be kirked. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, like you're the next. You'll be the next Kirk. And it's just like, are you kidding me? Because it's not even like I hate what's happening right now. Like, I feel bad for my family, honestly, because it's like, yeah, like we didn't do anything wrong.
All because he brought some fraud to light. Nick, look, bro, if you need some firearm training, I'm your Huckleberry, all right? Author of the Common Sense Cowboy Guide to Life, the Common Sense Cowboy himself, Patrick Dorinson. Sir, I mean, like, if they want to play this game, I play it real well.
Yeah, I know, Carl, and it's become so disgusting that the corporate propagandists at the legacy media have, one, they neglected this story, but two, by their actions in trying to take down a young man like Nick Shirley, and they're really behind it, we all know that. Mm-hmm. By doing that, they are a disgrace to the concept of a free press in this country. Second of all, it's interesting that a young 23-year-old man who decided that he was going to investigate something that has now blossomed, if you will, into one of the largest corruption scandals in the United States, and quite frankly, we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg so far. I think it's going to be an interesting year in 2026. One, when a guy like Nick Shirley can take down the corporate media, and two, their extinction can't come fast enough.
Yeah, look, I love what he's doing. I keep going. I wish there was a place I knew how I could donate to him to help him. But the left is also now, some of these morons, they're trying to expose Nick Shirley. This guy, Ismail Royer, who's not his real name, by the way, he tweeted out, since Nick Shirley wants us all to believe that only Somalis commit fraud, below are the relevant documents in the fraud case involving Nick's family, in which they were alleged to have defrauded a company of over $500,000. They settled the case for $20,000. And one of my favorite accounts, Bad Hombre, clapping back. What does Nick Shirley have to do with a civil case from when he was 15 years old? Let's talk about how his real name is Randall Todd Royer, served 13 years in prison for your involvement in running a militant jihadist training camp in North Virginia. You shouldn't even be here. You should be deported years ago. I love this.
I think this is fantastic, because look what we're exposing. We're exposing, one, the corruption in all this government. Two, the Democrats can't touch this thing, because if they touch this thing, it's going to be the third rail of the 2026 midterm elections.
Yeah.
So they have to kind of keep quiet about the whole thing so that they don't stir it up anymore. But they can't stop it, because there's more Nick Shirleys out there nowadays than there are the corporate reporters who have all the brains of a fly hitting your windshield at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, the thing is all the GOP has to do is arrest one person, like one real government official in this, and I bet they win the midterm elections, and they can't even do that at this point. But this is also great. They held a press conference for the legislators and providers of Minnesota daycares last night to try to get people to feel bad about them, deter them from any fraud. Just play this.
Many people in our childcare community are afraid to come forward and share their stories today because they are being targeted. The truth is that Minnesota has guardrails in place to make defrauding the childcare system extremely difficult.
If childcare is cut, I'm unable to work or go to school. I understand fraud is bad.
Oops.
Yeah, oops. Did you see those Karens standing behind her? Oh gosh, look at this poor thing. There is no fraud. Give me a break. Look, when you're defending the indefensible, being stupid seems to go with the territory.
Yeah.
This young woman actually spoke the truth. Fraud is bad. And the people behind her were so shocked they had to go, it's okay, honey. You just stand to one side and let us professional liars take over.
It was actually so unbelievable. Well, Patrick Dorinson, a pleasure as always, sir.
You bet.
Happy New Year. All right, before we go, it's Thursday. We got some real good comments for Carl. Next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
Oh, look. Great blue heron.
Oh, your favorite.
When I go, I'd like to leave some money to the local bird conservancy.
That's a beautiful legacy to leave.
Doesn't count. Generous, but final wishes need to be more finalized. What you need is a will. Luckily, Trust and Will makes it easy to create a legally valid, state-specific document that actually counts. Ooh, what's that?
That's a duck.
Start your will at trustandwill.com now and make it count.
Trust and Will. Hi, I'm Ben Cozy. Isn't traveling a pain in the neck? You're cramped, uncomfortable, and forget about getting any rest. There's nothing cozy about airplane seats or hard plastic benches, and those so-called travel pillows, they just don't cut it. You don't need another travel pillow. You need Be Cozy, the world's most comfortable neck pillow. Trapped in the middle seat? Wrap Be Cozy around your neck to stop chin drop, bobblehead napping. Smashed up against the window? Fold Be Cozy over and tuck it onto your shoulder for super side support. Frequent flyer miles got you sitting aisle? Turn Be Cozy to the side for the perfect pillow position. Everyone wants to be cozy, so get the world's most comfortable travel neck pillow and be cozy just like me, Ben Cozy. You get to be cozy. Everyone gets a Be Cozy. Only Be Cozy has patented overlapping arms so you get double support and the comfort you need in any seat on any trip. Go online right now and get this exclusive TV offer. Buy one Be Cozy, get one 50% off. Get yours now.
Hello everyone, I'm April Lufrio. Today we got the super popular Zippy Sweeper. It's an electric broom that sweeps up messes with its 360-degree swivel head and ultra lightweight design. The Zippy Sweeper is powered by a long-lasting rechargeable battery, and you can dump the dirt with just one click and no fuss. It's on Amazon for $109, but you get it here for just $59, and that's $50 off. And if you don't like it, send it back, and we'll even cover the cost of return shipping.
Oh my God, I won. Guys, I just saw someone win an iPad for under $10.
I got this amazing Japanese knife set for just 75 cents.
I got this KitchenAid stand mixer for only $56.
There's millions of fast auctions and always something to win on DealDash.com. And today, new users get a $50 bonus credit. Go to DealDash.com right now and see how much you'll save.
And shipping is always free.
Total Beats, America's best-selling Beats brand, is available at Walmart. Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews contain a key ingredient clinically shown to deliver 2 times better blood pressure support. Take control of your health. Head to Walmart and get Total Beats blood pressure support soft chews today.
Satellite internet that's fast, reliable, and installed by professionals. For work, for play, for every day. Available anywhere you call home. Visit Viasat.com/internet now or call 833-8Viasat to sign up today.
What does under outfit feel like? So comfortable and soft, it's like we designed our bras to be forgotten. Try them at home for 180 days. Also available at Nordstrom.com. Under outfit, engineered for happiness.
Set sail toward fast asthma relief with Brethora.
$300 for a refill?
Don't pay that. Use Single Care. Look up your prescription, show the coupon to the pharmacist, and save.
See why more people are saving with Single Care.
All right, folks, it's Thursday. We're back with another week of comments for Carl. Let's get to it. Okay, in response to me saying that Trump should just pardon every American for paying taxes in 2026 until they get the fraud squared away, one of the brain children from the internet, probably a Somali, said, "Oh, shut up, you fraud." I'm not a butthead. You're a butthead. I mean, absolutely brilliant from the places that probably had an IQ of 67. All right, I pointed out also that I don't much care for the Attorney General of Washington. And then this guy said, Washington State, that is, this guy commented, "You are literally," hey, they bleeped out retarded. But anyway, this is not an insult. Seek help. Okay, probably from the same people who lost their mind when Trump used this word. But just so you know, the IQ to meet that metric is below 70, which happens to encompass the majority of the Somali population. But life is short, so I'd like to spend it arguing with random people on the internet. Anyway, let's do one more. You know how we like to end on a good note here. So in response to my plan to have Trump, pardon basically everybody from paying any federal, I think actually federal taxes or any taxes is actually theft. So survey says from you people, I mean, this is just 5 of the hundreds of tweets of people who are like, yes, I'm here for this. I think nobody in 2026 should pay any tax. I'm not telling you to break the law. I think Trump should pardon everybody from paying any federal taxes, because you know what? That is like the ultimate way to say, Congress, do without our $3 trillion. Anyway, we got to leave it there. Follow me on Twitter and or X at Instagram at Carl Higbie. We'll see you tomorrow.